The night started like any other, quiet, controlled, almost too calm to mean anything. But behind the scenes, something far bigger was already in motion. Something that would shake everything people thought they knew. Sources are now claiming that Jim Jones was not just being watched, he was being tracked, recorded, and quietly surrounded for weeks. And what makes this situation even more explosive is not just the arrest itself, but what federal agents allegedly captured on tape. According to insiders, this was no sudden move. This was a carefully planned operation. A sting that unfolded step by step, with hidden microphones, confidential informants, and conversations that were never meant to see the light of day. And now, those recordings are said to reveal deals, conversations, and connections that fans are struggling to even process. Witnesses say the moment it all went down felt unreal. 1 second, everything seemed normal. The next, unmarked vehicles pulled up, agents moved in, and just like that, Jim Jones was in custody. No warning, no time to react, just silence, followed by chaos. Fans are shocked. Close friends are reportedly scrambling for answers. And those within his inner circle? They are either staying very quiet, or distancing themselves entirely. But here is where things take an even darker turn. Because what the FBI allegedly uncovered goes beyond rumors or speculation. We are talking about recorded conversations that could change everything. Deals that raise serious questions. And a narrative that is now spinning completely out of control. The question is no longer what happened. The question is, how deep does this really go? The moment the news broke, everything changed. Whispers turned into panic, and panic turned into pure chaos. People close to Jim Jones were calling each other nonstop, trying to figure out what was real and what was just another rumor spinning out of control. But deep down, everyone felt it. This was different. This was not one of those situations that fades away overnight. Inside sources claim that in the days leading up to the arrest, Jim had been acting strangely. Quieter than usual, more guarded. One friend allegedly said he kept checking his phone like he was expecting something bad to happen. Another claimed he canceled meetings last minute without explanation. At first, people brushed it off as stress. Now, they are looking back and realizing those may have been warning signs. And then came the tapes. According to leaked information, federal agents had been recording conversations for weeks. Not just random conversations, but very specific ones. Private meetings, late-night calls, discussions that were never supposed to leave those rooms. And what those recordings supposedly contain is what has everyone shaken. One insider described it in a way that sent chills through fans. They said, once you hear what is on those tapes, you cannot unhear it. It changes how you see everything. As the story began to spread, reactions started pouring in. Some fans refused to believe it. They took to social media, defending Jim, calling it a setup, saying there is no way he would be involved in anything like that. Others were not so sure. They pointed out how quiet he had been recently, how certain moves did not add up. Meanwhile, those closest to him were dealing with something much more personal. Emotions ran high behind closed doors. One family member reportedly broke down in tears, asking how things could have gotten this far. Another was said to be furious, accusing people around Jim of leading him into dangerous situations. But the real tension began when names started coming up. Because according to sources, Jim was not alone in those recordings. And that is where things took a sharp turn. One alleged conversation that has been circulating involves a heated exchange between Jim and an unidentified associate. The tone, according to insiders, was tense, almost desperate. "You cannot back out now," the associate allegedly said. Jim reportedly responded, "I did not sign up for this level. You told me it was controlled." Controlled? The voice shot back. Nothing about this is controlled anymore. If these reports are even partly true, it suggests a situation that spiraled far beyond what anyone expected. And that possibility is what has people talking. Friends are now questioning everything. Fans are replaying old interviews, looking for clues. Even people who barely followed his career are now paying attention. Because it is not just about the arrest. It is about what led to it. One close friend, who chose to remain anonymous, reportedly said that Jim had been under pressure for a long time. They claimed he was trying to keep up appearances while dealing with things behind the scenes that most people never saw. He was carrying a lot, the friend said, more than anyone realized, but not everyone is showing sympathy. Another source described a completely different reaction from someone within his circle. They allegedly said, he knew exactly what he was doing. Nobody forced him into anything. And just like that, the divide began. The family was left divided, with some defending him and others questioning his decisions. Longtime associates were suddenly going silent, refusing to answer calls. A few even went as far as publicly distancing themselves, making it clear they did not want to be linked to whatever was unfolding. But perhaps the most shocking twist came when a second set of recordings was mentioned. These were not just conversations. These were said to be meetings. Real-time discussions with multiple people present. And according to early leaks, these meetings involved deals that could raise serious legal questions. One alleged snippet that has been making rounds is especially alarming. "This stays between us," Jim supposedly said during one of the recordings. "Of course it does," another voice replied. "That is why we are here." The simplicity of those words is what makes them so unsettling. Because now, nothing feels simple anymore. As investigators continue to piece everything together, more details are expected to come out. And with each new detail, the situation grows more complicated. Fans are left wondering who to believe. Was this a carefully constructed setup, or was there something happening behind the scenes all along? Was Jim in control of the situation, or was he caught in something bigger than himself? No one seems to have clear answers. And while the outside world debates and speculates, those closest to the situation are dealing with the reality of it. Phones are still ringing, messages are still being sent. And somewhere in the middle of all this noise, one thing is becoming painfully clear. This story is far from over. Because if what is on those tapes is as serious as insiders claim, then this is only the beginning of a much larger storm. The storm only intensified as the morning after the arrest unfolded. News outlets were swarmed with tips, leaks, and alleged first-hand accounts, all painting a picture that was both chaotic and shocking. Fans were glued to screens, refreshing social media, desperate for any hint of clarity. But clarity was in short supply. Every new post seemed to contradict the last, every insider had a different story, and the rumor mill was spinning faster than anyone could keep up with. Yet, despite the confusion, one fact remained undeniable: Jim Jones had been taken into custody, and the implications were massive. According to multiple unnamed sources, the FBI had meticulously mapped out Jim's movements for weeks. Agents had reportedly monitored his every interaction, tracked his calls, and even analyzed his patterns of communication. It was a careful chess game, one that apparently required immense patience and precision. Those involved described it as surgical, calculated, and unavoidable. Yet, the secrecy only made the revelations even more explosive once the tapes surfaced. The content of the recordings, sources say, was nothing short of incendiary. Alleged conversations reportedly detailed secret agreements, hidden alliances, and deals that could jeopardize more than just Jim himself. Insiders hint that these tapes reveal a side of the industry that fans never expected to see: private negotiations, disputes over money, and power struggles that were previously kept well under wraps. And the tension captured on tape, according to witnesses, is palpable. Voices are said to rise, accusations are thrown, and emotions run hotter than anyone imagined. Friends and family, caught in the whirlwind, were reportedly at each other's throats. One close associate allegedly called a meeting to try to mediate the growing unrest. He was reportedly shouted down, accused of betrayal, and told he had no idea the magnitude of the situation. The family itself, meanwhile, was described as fracturing. One side reportedly defending Jim, insisting he was being unfairly targeted, while the other questioned his choices, asking why he did not step back when he sensed trouble. The tension was described as unbearable, with some leaving the house in anger, refusing to speak to anyone for hours. Meanwhile, the wider circle around Jim was not immune to the fallout. Friends, collaborators, and even distant acquaintances were forced to take sides. Some released statements to the media expressing shock and support, others chose to disappear from public view entirely, refusing to comment. Social media was ablaze with speculation, fans debating every detail, dissecting every clip, every comment, every post. The public scrutiny only added pressure, heightening the sense of drama. And then there were the twists. Sources claim that during the early stages of questioning, the FBI presented Jim with recordings he reportedly thought did not exist. In one particularly tense moment, Jim is said to have denied knowledge of certain agreements, only for investigators to calmly play a tape revealing the opposite. Emotions ran high, with one witness describing the scene as almost cinematic, voices raised, threats whispered, and the weight of impending consequences hanging heavy in the room. One associate allegedly recounted a particularly heated exchange caught on tape. "You crossed the line," one voice reportedly snapped. Jim responded, "I did what I had to do. Don't make this about betrayal." The back and forth escalated, voices overlapping, accusations flying, and the intensity of the moment leaving those present stunned. The drama, according to insiders, was unlike anything they had witnessed in years of working in the industry. Outside of these private confrontations, the ripple effects reached fans worldwide. Reactions ranged from disbelief to outrage. Online forums and social media platforms were flooded with posts, videos, and reactions dissecting every alleged detail. Some fans reportedly organized virtual watch parties to analyze clips, while others took to defending Jim, claiming it was all part of a larger setup. The emotional investment was intense, with debates turning heated, friendships tested, and reputations questioned. Amidst all this, speculation grew about the identity of other parties involved in the alleged secret deals. While some names surfaced online, many were quickly dismissed or denied by insiders. The uncertainty, combined with tantalizing hints from leaked information, kept the public captivated. Theories abounded, some wild, some plausible, all contributing to the narrative that nothing about this situation was straightforward. Every twist seemed to bring a new layer of complexity, making the story almost impossible to fully unravel. As the hours passed, the gravity of the situation became clearer. Those closest to Jim, from family members to longtime collaborators, were forced to confront the reality of what was unfolding. Private conversations were leaked, old tensions resurfaced, and what was once considered loyal support began to fracture under the weight of scrutiny. Insiders described it as a pressure cooker, with the heat of public attention amplifying already strained relationships. The combination of legal pressure, media scrutiny, and personal drama created a situation that insiders said was unprecedented. One source claimed that even seasoned industry veterans were shocked at how quickly events spiraled, noting that the tapes alone could change the trajectory of careers and personal relationships alike. With each new leak, the story seemed to grow, the stakes higher, and the fallout more unpredictable. And while investigators remained tight-lipped, their actions spoke volumes. Unmarked cars reportedly lingered near residences, surveillance was intensified, and additional interviews were said to be ongoing. The sense of an unfolding investigation, combined with the leaked recordings, kept everyone on edge. Even those who thought they were far removed from the situation found themselves drawn into the drama, unable to look away. Through it all, Jim Jones reportedly maintained a calm exterior, at least publicly. Sources say he posted on social media, expressing confidence and dismissing rumors, but insiders suggest the calm may have been a carefully constructed facade. Behind closed doors, conversations, arguments, and negotiations were happening at a pace that left few able to keep up. Emotions were raw, relationships tested, and the complexity of the alleged deals continued to reveal layers no one expected. And yet, despite all the tension, some moments of vulnerability emerged. One family member reportedly expressed fear for Jim's safety, worried not just about legal consequences but about the personal cost of betrayal and scrutiny. Another reportedly pleaded for unity, trying to remind everyone that family ties could survive even the most explosive revelations. But the drama was far from contained. With each passing day, new clips allegedly surfaced, new names were whispered, and the narrative became more convoluted. Fans debated endlessly, insiders negotiated quietly, and the entire industry seemed to be holding its breath, waiting to see what would come next. The intensity only increased when rumors suggested that additional tapes contained discussions about money, loyalty, and alliances that could be considered controversial or illegal. Whispers of disputes over large sums, secret agreements, and alleged betrayals painted a picture of a network of decisions and relationships that were far more intricate than anyone outside the circle could comprehend. And as the world watched, the question remained: who could be trusted? Friends, family, collaborators, even fans themselves were left questioning reality. Every new revelation, every leaked clip, every insider report added layers to a story that had already captured the attention of thousands. Emotions ran high, tension thickened, and the feeling that the storm was only beginning became undeniable. The drama, according to those following closely, was unlike anything seen before. Whispers turned into confrontations, private disagreements became public, and the weight of the tapes cast a shadow over every interaction. No one knew what would happen next, and that uncertainty made every moment feel electrifying, dangerous, and utterly captivating. This was a story that refused to fade. It demanded attention. It demanded speculation. And above all, it demanded that everyone involved reckon with the consequences of choices made in secrecy, now laid bare for the world to see. The tension only deepened as the days went on. What started as shock and disbelief began to evolve into fear, suspicion, and frustration. Insiders report that Jim Jones, once surrounded by loyal friends and collaborators, was now facing a growing sense of isolation. Calls went unanswered, messages ignored, and even longtime allies began keeping their distance. Every interaction seemed to carry an unspoken question: who knew what, and who could be trusted? The atmosphere, insiders claim, was suffocating, thick with paranoia and unspoken accusations. According to sources, the tapes revealed not only deals but personal disputes that many thought had been resolved years ago. One heated exchange allegedly involved Jim confronting a former associate about money that was allegedly mismanaged. Voices reportedly escalated quickly, with accusations flying and tempers flaring. One source described the scene as a powder keg waiting to explode, noting that everyone in the room felt the tension in the air. The arguments, insiders say, were not just about money. They were about loyalty, trust, and betrayal, the kinds of emotions that cut deep and leave scars. Friends who were once vocal supporters reportedly started questioning their own involvement. Some allegedly reached out to legal counsel, worried that they might be implicated in decisions they had once thought harmless. Others pulled away entirely, refusing to answer phones or engage in conversation. The ripple effect of the arrest, combined with the explosive content of the tapes, seemed to touch everyone connected to Jim in any meaningful way. At the same time, fans online were dissecting every detail they could find. Forums, social media platforms, and comment sections were flooded with speculation. Some fans attempted to connect dots between old interviews, public appearances, and newly surfaced footage. Others were more emotional, expressing disbelief or disappointment. "I can't believe this," one fan wrote. "He seemed untouchable." Another responded, "Maybe we never really knew him at all." The intensity of public reaction only added fuel to the fire, creating a feedback loop that amplified every leak and rumor. Insiders also described moments of shocking vulnerability. One family member allegedly broke down during a private conversation, questioning how things could have gone so wrong. "He's not invincible," they reportedly said. "We all thought he was untouchable, but now everything is crumbling around him." The juxtaposition of public bravado and private fear painted a complicated picture of a man facing consequences far beyond what most imagined. But the drama didn't stop at family or close associates. Sources claim that some of Jim's collaborators were involved in conversations that suggested knowledge of deals that could raise serious legal questions. Whispers of secret agreements, alleged betrayals, and undisclosed transactions created an atmosphere where trust became nearly impossible to maintain. Even those who were not directly implicated reportedly felt the pressure, as the shadow of scrutiny loomed over everyone connected to the situation. One particularly intense scene, according to leaks, involved a confrontation between Jim and a previously trusted associate. "You promised me this would stay clean," the associate allegedly said, voice trembling with anger. Jim reportedly shot back, "I did what I had to do to survive. Don't put this all on me." Voices reportedly rose, tempers flared, and the air was thick with tension. Insiders say that the argument highlighted the fragility of relationships under pressure and the consequences of long-hidden secrets finally coming to light. As more clips surfaced, the public began to piece together a timeline of decisions, arguments, and alliances. Some clips allegedly contained detailed discussions of money, business arrangements, and plans that could be considered controversial or legally questionable. Others captured raw emotional moments, pleas for understanding, arguments over loyalty, and expressions of fear about what the future might hold. The mixture of business and personal drama made the story increasingly complex and difficult to untangle. The family dynamic, insiders report, grew increasingly strained. While some members tried to maintain support, others were openly critical, asking why Jim didn't step back when he sensed danger. Arguments erupted over trust, responsibility, and the cost of secrecy. One relative allegedly shouted, "We stood by you. Why would you put us through this?" The weight of betrayal, real or perceived, left deep emotional scars that insiders say will take time to heal. Friends outside the family were also facing challenges. Longtime collaborators, once vocal in their support, reportedly began to distance themselves, worried about the implications of being associated with the fallout. Some sought legal counsel to navigate potential risks, while others quietly exited the scene entirely. The combination of legal pressure, media attention, and personal drama created an environment that insiders described as nearly impossible to navigate without missteps. Amidst all this, the public spectacle continued. Fans dissected every post, every interview, every hint of information. Speculation ran rampant, often contradicting itself. One day, a post suggested a resolution, the next, a leak hinted at new complications. The constant influx of information made it difficult for anyone to know what was true, which only fueled further drama. One source claimed that the FBI's approach was methodical, designed to reveal the full scope of what was happening. Unmarked cars reportedly remained near residences, surveillance intensified, and multiple interviews were ongoing. The implication, insiders say, is that the investigation is far from over. With every new tape, every new detail, the complexity of the situation grows, and the potential consequences expand. Even within Jim's inner circle, emotions were reportedly at a breaking point. Arguments over loyalty, secrecy, and responsibility erupted repeatedly. Insiders said that some associates were torn between protecting their friend and preserving their own safety, creating a tense environment where trust was in short supply. Every conversation seemed fraught with risk, every decision carrying weight that extended far beyond the room in which it was made. And then came the whispers of yet another twist. Insiders hinted that there might be additional recordings, conversations, or evidence not yet revealed. If true, these could further complicate matters, potentially implicating more people and expanding the scope of the drama. Fans, already on edge, speculated endlessly. Discussions online shifted from shock to analysis, with theories ranging from the plausible to the outrageous. Through it all, Jim Jones reportedly maintained a public front of composure. Posts on social media, interviews, and statements projected confidence, even defiance. Yet insiders suggest that the calm may be a carefully constructed image, masking the storm of emotion, conflict, and uncertainty behind closed doors. The contrast between public perception and private reality added another layer of intrigue to an already explosive story. As the situation continued to unfold, one thing became clear: the narrative was far from settled. Leaks, speculation, and the emotional fallout created a situation that insiders described as evolving in real time. Every new revelation prompted questions about loyalty, trust, and the consequences of long-hidden actions. For fans, collaborators, and family members alike, the story was far from over, and the tension showed no signs of easing. With so much at stake, the focus turned to what comes next. Insiders hinted at ongoing negotiations, possible legal maneuvers, and the continuing unraveling of relationships that were once considered unshakable. The drama, they say, is only going to intensify as more information surfaces and the ripple effects continue to spread. The world watched, captivated, as the complex web of secrets, betrayals, and alliances continued to unfold, leaving everyone involved questioning what they thought they knew, who they could trust, and what the future might hold. As the days turned into a week, the intensity of the situation escalated even further. Insiders report that the pressure on Jim Jones was now almost unbearable. The weight of public scrutiny, combined with the implications of the tapes, left him navigating a landscape filled with suspicion, accusations, and fractured relationships. What was once a tightly controlled image of influence and control now seemed vulnerable, fragile, and under siege. Friends and family alike were reportedly struggling to reconcile the man they knew with the unfolding drama captured on tape. One source described a particularly tense scene between Jim and a longtime associate. Voices allegedly raised, accusations flew, and tempers flared to a point where others in the room were reportedly shocked. "You knew this could blow up," the associate allegedly shouted. Jim's response, according to leaks, was cold and measured. "I did what I had to do. Now deal with it." Insiders say that exchange exemplified the complex mix of defiance, desperation, and raw emotion that characterized the days following the arrest. Meanwhile, the tapes themselves continued to dominate conversations. Insiders claim that the recordings revealed layers of agreements, negotiations, and disputes previously unknown to the public. Alleged conversations about money, loyalty, and influence painted a picture of a network of relationships built on fragile trust and high stakes. Some insiders went as far as to suggest that the content of the tapes could have legal repercussions for multiple parties, not just Jim himself. Reactions from fans grew increasingly emotional. Social media platforms were flooded with posts expressing disbelief, anger, and curiosity. One post read, "I can't believe he did that," while another declared, "Maybe we never really knew him." Forums became battlegrounds for speculation, with fans dissecting every clip, every leaked detail, and every public statement. The intensity of online discourse mirrored the chaos behind closed doors, creating a feedback loop that amplified every twist and turn. Inside Jim's personal circle, relationships continued to fracture. Sources suggest that disagreements over loyalty, decision-making, and responsibility erupted repeatedly. Family members reportedly confronted each other, demanding answers and expressing frustration over perceived betrayals. Friends and collaborators were torn between defending Jim and protecting their own interests, creating an atmosphere thick with tension, fear, and uncertainty. The complexity of the situation was compounded by additional leaks. Insiders claim that more recordings surfaced, each one revealing new details, new disputes, and new surprises. Alleged conversations involving longtime collaborators, friends, and associates added layers of intrigue, fueling speculation and deepening the sense of uncertainty. With every new revelation, trust became increasingly scarce, and alliances were tested like never before. One particularly shocking moment, according to sources, involved a confrontation that exposed deep-seated resentment. A voice allegedly accused Jim of crossing lines that should never have been crossed. Jim's retort, calm but firm, reportedly emphasized survival and necessity. "Sometimes you have to make moves no one understands." The exchange, insiders say, highlighted the tension between personal loyalty and professional ambition, and the emotional toll of operating in a world where every action is scrutinized. Fans, meanwhile, became obsessed with piecing together the timeline. Old interviews, social media posts, and public appearances were re-examined, with theories emerging about possible motives, hidden agendas, and future outcomes. The speculation, whether accurate or not, intensified the drama, creating a sense that the story was evolving in real time and that the next revelation could shift everything. Insiders also report that the FBI's approach was relentless. Surveillance reportedly increased, interviews continued, and investigators pursued every lead with precision. The presence of law enforcement, combined with the public attention, added pressure to an already volatile situation. Even those not directly involved felt the weight of scrutiny, and whispers of potential consequences kept everyone on edge. The personal cost, according to sources, was significant. Friends and family struggled with the emotional toll, dealing with fear, frustration, and anger. Private conversations reportedly turned into arguments, with blame and regret thrown back and forth. Insiders describe the environment as a pressure cooker, where every word, every gesture, and every decision carried immense weight. As the saga unfolded, speculation about additional undisclosed evidence added another layer of suspense. Insiders hinted at possible recordings or documents that had not yet surfaced, fueling fears and curiosity alike. The possibility of further revelations created a climate of anticipation, with everyone involved bracing for the next shockwave. Through it all, Jim Jones maintained a composed exterior in public. Posts on social media projected confidence, sometimes even defiance, but insiders suggest that this public persona masked the turmoil behind closed doors. The contrast between appearance and reality created a complex narrative, with fans and insiders alike questioning what was genuine and what was performance. Emotions reportedly ran the gamut from fear to anger to desperation. Family members pleaded for unity, friends weighed loyalty against self-preservation, and collaborators navigated an increasingly complicated web of relationships. Insiders describe the scene as a mix of raw emotion and calculated strategy, a delicate balancing act where every move could have far-reaching consequences. As the story continued to unfold, one thing became evident: the fallout from the arrest and the tapes was far from over. With legal pressure, public scrutiny, and personal conflict converging, the situation had become a labyrinth of drama and intrigue. Every new leak, every new rumor, and every new revelation served to complicate the narrative further, making it increasingly difficult for anyone to predict what would happen next. In the midst of all this, the public remained captivated. Fans dissected every detail, debated motives, and speculated on outcomes. Social media became a theater for both support and criticism, reflecting the intensity of the unfolding drama. Every post, comment, and video added fuel to a fire that insiders say shows no sign of dying down. Inside Jim's circle, the emotional stakes continued to escalate. Arguments over trust, loyalty, and responsibility flared repeatedly. Private conversations turned into confrontations, and insiders suggest that the pressure tested even the strongest relationships. The combination of public attention and personal conflict created an environment where every decision mattered, and every move was scrutinized. And yet, despite the chaos, one recurring theme emerged: the story was far from over. With more recordings, additional leaks, and ongoing investigations, insiders warned that the next twist could be even more explosive. Fans, friends, and family were left grappling with uncertainty, unable to predict the outcome but unable to look away. The drama, insiders emphasize, had become a living, breathing entity, growing and evolving with each new day. Every revelation, every confrontation, and every leaked conversation added layers to a story that was already complex and unpredictable. As the world watched, one thing was certain: this was far from the end, and the fallout from the arrest and the tapes was only beginning to reveal its full impact. The tension inside Jim Jones' circle reached a breaking point as the weeks wore on. Insiders describe a constant cycle of meetings, heated phone calls, and arguments that seemed to come out of nowhere. Even longtime friends and collaborators, who had always projected confidence and loyalty, were reportedly questioning their positions. Some allegedly sought legal advice, others allegedly stepped back entirely, and a few reportedly confronted Jim directly, demanding explanations. The atmosphere, insiders say, was thick with distrust, frustration, and uncertainty. One particularly intense moment reportedly occurred during a private meeting that was allegedly recorded. Voices reportedly escalated quickly, accusations were thrown, and tempers flared. "You knew the risk," one voice allegedly shouted. Jim's response, calm but firm, was said to be chilling. "Risk is part of the game. You either play or get left behind." Insiders say that the exchange captured the raw tension of relationships strained by secrecy, ambition, and fear of exposure. The tapes themselves continued to be a source of drama. According to insiders, the recordings allegedly contained conversations about undisclosed agreements, financial arrangements, and personal disputes. Some of these exchanges reportedly revealed conflicts that had simmered for years, finally coming to a head under the pressure of the investigation. Fans, unable to access the recordings themselves, speculated endlessly about their content, amplifying the intensity of the narrative. As the public became aware of the ongoing developments, reactions varied wildly. Social media erupted with speculation, accusations, and theories. Some fans defended Jim, insisting he was being unfairly targeted or set up. Others were less forgiving, dissecting past behavior and trying to reconcile what they thought they knew with the allegedly explosive revelations. Forums became battlegrounds for debate, and the drama spilled over into mainstream news coverage, further amplifying the story. Within Jim's family, tensions reportedly escalated as well. Sources claim that arguments over trust, loyalty, and responsibility were frequent and intense. Some family members allegedly confronted each other over perceived failures to protect or advise Jim, while others reportedly expressed fear for his well-being. Insiders describe the family dynamic as fractured, with emotions running high and relationships under immense strain. Friends and collaborators were similarly affected. According to reports, some former allies distanced themselves entirely, fearful of being implicated or drawn into ongoing conflicts. Others attempted to mediate disputes, only to be met with resistance or anger. The combination of legal scrutiny, public attention, and personal drama created an environment that insiders describe as volatile and unpredictable. One alleged conversation caught on tape reportedly involved a dispute over financial dealings and loyalty. Voices reportedly rose to a fever pitch, with one person accusing Jim of deception and betrayal. Jim allegedly responded with a mixture of defiance and explanation, asserting that his actions were necessary and justified. Insiders describe the exchange as emblematic of the high-stakes tension that has defined the aftermath of the arrest. Fans continued to analyze every snippet of information they could find. Old interviews, social media posts, and public appearances were re-examined in light of the new revelations. Speculation about motives, hidden agendas, and future outcomes became a constant topic of discussion. The combination of official news, leaks, and fan theory created a narrative that was complex, shifting, and often contradictory, keeping the public engaged and anxious for the next development. The legal aspect of the situation reportedly added another layer of pressure. Sources claim that investigators were methodically examining every piece of evidence, including recordings, documents, and witness statements. The possibility of additional charges or revelations loomed large, keeping everyone involved on edge. Insiders suggest that the investigation was far from over, and that the full scope of what had been uncovered was not yet known to the public. The emotional toll on Jim and those around him was reportedly significant. Family members allegedly expressed fear, frustration, and sadness, while friends and collaborators navigated a delicate balance between loyalty and self-preservation. Private conversations reportedly became confrontational, with blame and regret surfacing repeatedly. Insiders describe the atmosphere as charged, where every interaction carried weight and consequences were magnified by the public eye. Additional leaks reportedly complicated matters further. Insiders hinted at conversations and recordings not yet made public, suggesting that more explosive details could emerge at any time. The anticipation of new information added tension to an already fraught situation, with everyone involved bracing for potential revelations that could dramatically shift relationships and public perception. Even as the drama unfolded, Jim's public image remained a focal point. Posts on social media projected confidence, often bordering on defiance, but insiders suggest that this exterior masked the turmoil behind closed doors. The contrast between public persona and private reality added another layer of complexity, leaving fans and observers to question what was authentic and what was performance. Relationships within Jim's inner circle reportedly continued to strain under the pressure. Arguments over trust, loyalty, and responsibility erupted frequently, insiders say. The stakes were high, with every decision carrying potential consequences for multiple parties. Those close to Jim reportedly felt trapped between supporting a friend and protecting themselves, creating a tense environment where missteps could be disastrous. As speculation about additional evidence and recordings grew, the intensity of the situation reportedly increased. Insiders suggested that more details could implicate additional people, further complicating an already volatile scenario. The combination of public attention, legal scrutiny, and personal drama created a scenario insiders describe as unprecedented in its complexity and intensity. Fans remained captivated, dissecting every post, comment, and leak. Social media became a stage for both support and criticism, reflecting the emotional investment of those following the story. The constant cycle of information, speculation, and reaction contributed to a sense that the drama was evolving in real time, with each new revelation carrying the potential to change the narrative entirely. Inside Jim's circle, insiders report that emotions ranged from fear and frustration to anger and desperation. Family members pleaded for understanding, friends navigated complex loyalties, and collaborators managed an increasingly intricate web of relationships. Every conversation, decision, and interaction reportedly carried high stakes, making the environment tense and unpredictable. With the story continuing to unfold, one thing became increasingly clear: the fallout from the arrest and the tapes was far from over. Ongoing leaks, speculation, and legal proceedings promised further complications. Insiders describe a situation where uncertainty reigns, trust is scarce, and every revelation has the potential to shift alliances and perceptions. As the world watched, insiders emphasized that the narrative was still developing. Every new leak, confrontation, and piece of evidence added layers to a story that was already complex and volatile. Fans, friends, and family were left grappling with the unknown, unsure of what was true, who could be trusted, or what the ultimate consequences might be. The intensity, insiders say, showed no signs of waning, leaving the entire situation poised for even more dramatic developments. The tension reached new heights as the weeks stretched on, with insiders describing a situation that seemed to grow more volatile by the hour. Every interaction reportedly carried unspoken questions, every phone call was analyzed, and every meeting became a potential flashpoint. Even longtime friends and collaborators who had once projected unwavering loyalty were now described as wary, questioning not just Jim Jones' decisions but also their own positions. The atmosphere, insiders say, was thick with suspicion, anger, and uncertainty, as if everyone was walking on a knife's edge. According to leaked reports, one of the most intense confrontations occurred during a private meeting between Jim and several associates. Voices allegedly escalated quickly, accusations were thrown, and tempers flared to the point where witnesses reportedly feared the situation could spiral out of control. "You went too far this time," one associate allegedly shouted. Jim's response, calm yet resolute, reportedly cut through the tension. "I did what I had to do. Survive or fail." Insiders say that this exchange highlighted the delicate balance between defiance, desperation, and loyalty that defined the entire ordeal. The tapes, which had already fueled speculation and drama, reportedly revealed even more complicated layers. Insiders claim that conversations touched on hidden agreements, undisclosed financial dealings, and interpersonal disputes that had been simmering for years. Some alleged that these exchanges included veiled threats, ultimatums, and moments of raw emotion, exposing the fragile dynamics of relationships that were once considered unshakable. Fan reactions continued to pour in, growing increasingly intense. Social media platforms were inundated with speculation, heated debates, and analysis of every snippet of information. Some fans defended Jim vehemently, suggesting he had been set up or misrepresented. Others expressed shock and disappointment, dissecting past behavior and attempting to reconcile what they thought they knew with the allegedly explosive revelations. Forums became battlegrounds, with theories flying and tensions rising as the drama unfolded in real time. Within Jim's family, emotions reportedly reached a fever pitch. Insiders say that arguments over loyalty, responsibility, and trust became increasingly frequent and heated. Some family members were described as pleading for unity, while others expressed frustration over perceived betrayals or failures to intervene. The resulting atmosphere, according to insiders, was volatile, with raw emotions running high and relationships under intense strain. Friends and collaborators faced their own challenges. Many reportedly distanced themselves from Jim, fearing implications in legal matters or potential fallout. Others attempted to mediate conflicts but were met with resistance or anger. The combination of public scrutiny, legal pressure, and personal drama created an environment insiders described as highly unstable, where every word and action carried amplified consequences. One particularly explosive conversation allegedly caught on tape involved a dispute over financial agreements and loyalty. Voices reportedly rose to a fever pitch, with accusations of deception and betrayal exchanged. Jim allegedly defended his choices, asserting that his actions were necessary and justified. Insiders described the exchange as emblematic of the tension, high stakes, and complex interplay of trust and ambition that defined the unfolding saga. As the public followed developments, speculation about motives, hidden agendas, and potential outcomes intensified. Fans scrutinized past interviews, social media activity, and public appearances, attempting to piece together a timeline and understand the context of the tapes. The interplay of official reports, leaked information, and fan theories created a layered, shifting narrative that was impossible to fully decipher, keeping attention focused on every new development. The legal aspect of the story reportedly added significant pressure. Sources claim that investigators meticulously examined recordings, documents, and statements, leaving little room for error. The possibility of additional charges or revelations loomed large, keeping everyone involved on edge. Insiders suggest that the investigation was ongoing, and that the full scope of what was uncovered remained undisclosed to the public. The emotional toll, according to insiders, was profound. Family members grappled with fear, frustration, and sadness, while friends and collaborators navigated the tension between loyalty and self-preservation. Private conversations reportedly turned into confrontations, with blame, regret, and accusations surfacing repeatedly. Insiders describe an environment charged with heightened emotions, where every interaction carried weight and potential consequences. Additional leaks reportedly complicated matters further. Insiders hinted at undisclosed recordings and conversations that could surface at any time, potentially implicating additional people and expanding the scope of the drama. The anticipation of new revelations added tension to an already volatile situation, keeping everyone involved bracing for the next shockwave. Even as the public spectacle continued, Jim's public image remained a focal point. Social media posts projected confidence, sometimes bordering on defiance, but insiders suggest that this exterior masked significant private turmoil. The contrast between public perception and private reality added another layer of intrigue, leaving fans and observers questioning what was genuine and what was performance. Relationships within Jim's inner circle reportedly continued to strain. Arguments over trust, loyalty, and responsibility were frequent, with insiders describing a climate where every decision could have serious repercussions. Those close to Jim reportedly struggled to balance loyalty with self-preservation, creating a tense environment rife with uncertainty and conflict. As speculation about additional evidence grew, so did the intensity of the situation. Insiders suggest that more tapes or documents could emerge, implicating others and further complicating an already intricate web of drama. The combination of public attention, legal scrutiny, and personal conflict created a scenario insiders describe as unprecedented in its complexity and emotional stakes. Fans remained captivated, analyzing every post, clip, and rumor. Social media became a stage for both support and criticism, reflecting the high emotional investment of those following the story. The continuous cycle of information, speculation, and reaction contributed to a sense that the drama was unfolding in real time, with each new revelation carrying the potential to shift the narrative. Inside Jim's circle, emotions reportedly ranged from fear and frustration to anger and desperation. Family members reportedly pleaded for understanding, friends navigated complicated loyalties, and collaborators managed an intricate web of relationships. Insiders describe the atmosphere as charged, where every decision, conversation, and interaction carried significant consequences. With the story continuing to unfold, it became increasingly clear that the fallout from the arrest and the tapes was far from over. Ongoing leaks, speculation, and legal proceedings promised further complications. Insiders describe a scenario where uncertainty reigns, trust is scarce, and every revelation has the potential to shift alliances and public perception dramatically. As the world watched, insiders emphasized that the narrative remained dynamic. Each new leak, confrontation, and piece of evidence added layers to a story already complex and volatile. Fans, friends, and family were left grappling with uncertainty, unsure of who could be trusted, what was true, or what the ultimate consequences would be. The intensity, insiders say, showed no sign of easing, leaving the situation poised for even more dramatic developments. As the weeks progressed, insiders reported that the atmosphere around Jim Jones had grown almost unbearable. Private conversations, once casual, were now loaded with tension, suspicion, and unspoken accusations. Even those who had long been close to him reportedly began second-guessing their involvement, fearful that any misstep could have serious consequences. Every interaction became a delicate dance, where loyalty, survival, and reputation were constantly weighed against one another. Sources claim that one particularly explosive confrontation occurred when a longtime associate allegedly demanded answers about undisclosed deals that had surfaced on the tapes. Voices reportedly rose quickly, accusations flew, and tempers flared. "We trusted you," the associate allegedly shouted, "and this is how you repay that." Jim allegedly responded with a mixture of defiance and justification, insisting that his choices had been necessary. Insiders say the argument illustrated the emotional complexity and high stakes of a world where every move could have legal and personal ramifications. The tapes themselves continued to drive speculation. Insiders describe recordings that allegedly revealed secret agreements, financial disputes, and private conflicts that many thought had been resolved long ago. Some conversations reportedly involved sharp accusations, whispered threats, and moments of raw emotion, exposing the fragile dynamics of relationships that had once seemed unshakable. Each new leak seemed to add another layer to an already intricate narrative, keeping fans, collaborators, and family members alike on edge. Fan reactions remained intense and multifaceted. Social media platforms were flooded with speculation, commentary, and heated debate. Some fans defended Jim, claiming he had been misrepresented or set up, while others expressed disbelief and disappointment. Old posts, interviews, and public appearances were dissected for hidden clues, creating a feedback loop of speculation that amplified the sense of drama. Online communities became arenas for theory crafting, where every leak or rumor was analyzed for meaning. Within Jim's family, tensions reportedly escalated dramatically. Some members allegedly tried to mediate, pleading for unity and understanding, while others expressed frustration and anger over perceived betrayals. Arguments over trust, responsibility, and the consequences of secrecy reportedly became frequent, and insiders describe an environment where raw emotion and fear of exposure dominated interactions. The family, once a source of support, was now described as fractured and volatile. Friends and collaborators outside the family faced their own challenges. Many reportedly distanced themselves, wary of legal implications or public scrutiny. Others attempted to mediate disputes, only to encounter resistance or hostility. Insiders describe the environment as unstable, where every decision, conversation, and alliance carried weighty consequences. The constant scrutiny intensified the pressure, creating a sense of perpetual tension. One particularly intense exchange allegedly caught on tape involved a dispute over financial matters and loyalty. Voices reportedly grew heated, with accusations of dishonesty and betrayal exchanged rapidly. Jim reportedly defended his actions, asserting necessity and survival as his justification. Insiders say the recording highlights the intense emotional stakes, the fragile trust, and the high-pressure environment surrounding the unfolding situation. As speculation about motives and hidden agendas grew, fans meticulously analyzed every detail available. Timelines, public appearances, and social media activity were dissected to piece together the story. The mixture of official reporting, leaked material, and fan theory created a multi-layered narrative that was constantly shifting and evolving, keeping public attention captivated and the drama alive. The legal scrutiny added another dimension of stress. Sources suggest that investigators were thorough, analyzing tapes, documents, and witness accounts with precision. The possibility of additional charges or emerging evidence reportedly kept everyone involved on high alert. Insiders emphasize that the investigation remained ongoing, with many aspects still unknown to the public, further complicating the narrative. The personal and emotional toll, insiders say, was severe. Family members struggled with fear and frustration, while friends and collaborators navigated conflicting pressures of loyalty and self-preservation. Private conversations reportedly became heated confrontations, with blame and regret surfacing repeatedly. The environment was described as high-strung and volatile, where every interaction could carry serious implications. Leaks continued to emerge, complicating the story further. Insiders hint at conversations and recordings not yet public, which could expand the web of involvement and deepen the drama. Anticipation of these potential revelations added another layer of tension, keeping everyone in a state of heightened anxiety. Publicly, Jim's image remained under intense scrutiny. Social media posts portrayed confidence and sometimes defiance, but insiders suggest that this projection masked significant private turmoil. The contrast between public persona and private reality added complexity to the unfolding story, leaving fans and observers questioning what was authentic. Relationships in Jim's inner circle reportedly remained strained. Arguments over trust, loyalty, and accountability erupted repeatedly. Those closest to him reportedly felt trapped between supporting a friend and protecting themselves, intensifying the already tense environment. Insiders say that this delicate balance created a scenario where even small missteps could have major consequences. Speculation about additional evidence reportedly intensified the drama. Insiders hinted that undisclosed recordings or documents could surface at any moment, implicating more people and expanding the complexity of the situation. Public attention, legal scrutiny, and interpersonal conflict combined to create an unprecedented level of tension and unpredictability. Fans stayed captivated, dissecting every new piece of information. Social media became a theater for both support and criticism, reflecting the high emotional investment in the story. The continuous influx of leaks, speculation, and discussion made the narrative feel as though it was evolving in real time, with each new development capable of dramatically reshaping public perception. Inside Jim's circle, insiders report emotions ran the gamut from fear and frustration to anger and desperation. Family members allegedly pleaded for understanding, friends navigated complicated loyalties, and collaborators tried to manage an increasingly complex network of relationships. Every interaction reportedly carried significant consequences, creating a climate of constant tension. As the saga continued, it became increasingly clear that the fallout from the arrest and the tapes was far from resolved. Ongoing leaks, speculation, and legal investigations promised more complications. Insiders emphasize that uncertainty, scarce trust, and the potential for additional revelations meant that the story was far from over. The unfolding drama, insiders say, had taken on a life of its own. Each new leak, argument, and piece of evidence added depth to an already complex narrative. Fans, friends, and family grappled with uncertainty, questioning who could be trusted, what was true, and what consequences might emerge next. The intensity of the situation showed no signs of abating, leaving the world watching for the next dramatic twist. As the saga of Jim Jones' arrest and the explosive tapes continues to unfold, one thing is undeniable: the story is far from over. Each revelation has peeled back another layer of a complicated web of loyalty, betrayal, and secrecy, leaving friends, family, and fans grappling with questions that have no easy answers. Insiders hint at more recordings, undisclosed deals, and heated confrontations yet to be revealed, making it impossible to predict what the next twist might bring. The atmosphere remains charged, emotions continue to run high, and every new leak sends shockwaves through both the inner circle and the public alike. The fallout has shown us that even those who seem untouchable are vulnerable when secrets come to light. Relationships that once seemed unbreakable are now strained, alliances are being tested, and trust has become a rare commodity. Fans, analysts, and insiders alike are left wondering, who really knew the full scope of these deals, who might be implicated next, and how will this all resolve? The uncertainty only adds to the tension, keeping everyone on the edge of their seats as the drama continues to escalate. As we watch this story develop, it's impossible not to feel the intensity of the emotions involved: the fear, the anger, the desperation, and the moments of shocking vulnerability. The human element of this saga is undeniable, showing how quickly power, money, and ambition can collide with personal relationships and public perception. Insiders warn that the coming days could bring even more explosive revelations, potentially reshaping the narrative entirely. So now, it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think about Jim Jones' actions, the secret deals on tape, and the ongoing fallout? Do you believe there's more hidden evidence waiting to surface, or has the worst already been revealed? We want to hear your thoughts, your theories, and your predictions. Make sure to hit that like button if you've been following this dramatic story, subscribe so you don't miss any new updates, and comment below with what you think is coming next. This is one saga that is far from over, and your voice matters as the drama continues to unfold.